Hey everyone, this is Amy D. McKnight from Davis and Fiber Arts, and don't worry, I'm about to slow this way down to show you step by step how to weave a triangle on on the common thread loom or on any potholder style loom. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to be going through just an overview of what I'm doing, and then when I'm going to slow the video down a little bit or a lot and I'm going to take you step by step on how to accomplish making a triangle so that you can use this in conjunction with a square to make all sorts of really cool projects. What I adore about modular creating, whether that is weaving granny squares or weaving, you know, potholder style things on these little looms, whether that be pin loom style or diagonal or potholder style like you see I'm doing now, is that you can put the squares together and make a host of different things. And so once you learn how to weave a triangle and you put that with a square, you can do a host of really cool things. So anyway, as I've been talking, you've been able to see the process by which you're able to create a triangle on a potholder style loom. And right now I'm at the last part of it, and like I said, I'm going to slow this down so that you'll be able to see step by step exactly what I did. But I kind of sort of wanted you to be able to kind of see the process from start to finish quickly, so that if you did need to stop and go away from the video, at least you had the concept and you can come back and watch the whole thing later. Alright, so let's do this again. Now, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to make a slip knot, and you're going to stretch that slip knot over the peg that is the second to the right from on the right hand side of your loom. And then you're just going to warp your loom as I'm doing it. It's pretty much, instead of using loopers like we did when we were kids, we're just using the thread, and we're not going to cut the thread. We're going to be using this continuously and just bringing it around the top and the bottom. I actually just kind of loop it around the bottom and then make a loop and just bring it up with my right thumb to the top of the loom and then come back down and just keep doing it like that. Now, if you're local to me, like if you're in the Triad of North Carolina, I would love it if you came and took a class with me, and I would be able to show you exactly how to do this in person. But hopefully for those of you who are not, this video will give you a good idea about how to go about weaving a triangle on the common threads loom or on a potholder style loom that you may have in your house. So now what you see me doing is I am putting in I think it's about a 1/4 inch dowel. I went over the first set of 4 because I've used worsted weight yarn doubled, which puts 4 strands around each peg, or 4 groups of thread around each peg. And I went over the first group and then under the second, and I went across. And I ended with the dowel up. And so that makes what's called a shed. And I am actually taking my hook, which is the same hook that you use in loom knitting, and I'm pulling the thread through, and I'm backing the shed stick up. Now, some of the pulling through is a little bit easier because the shed stick is there, making that space so you know exactly where you need to go. But like on this pass, I actually have to go under the threads that were not picked up by the shed stick. But using a shed stick kind of makes that part in and of itself easier. Now, this pass, I'm just going under the threads that have been picked up with the shed stick. So this is going pretty smoothly, it's going pretty quickly, and I go and put it on a peg on the right hand side. Every so often I'm going to use my fingers to scrunch it down. And again, you see that I am using the shed to see which threads I need to pick up, and so I'm picking up the threads that are not already being held up with the shed stick. And then I just place it over the peg on the right. I give it a little tug just to keep my my angle, the hypotenuse, straight, and I keep going. That shed stick makes weaving super quick. That's why I kind of enjoy weaving potholder style, because you can use the shed stick not only when you're weaving triangles like what I am doing, but you can also use it when you're weaving squares. So it makes every other pass much faster than having to go over, under for each of them. Give it a little pull and use your fingers to pull down the row and make it even. And so I got a little ways to go, and you can just watch the video and see what I'm doing. But what's really nice about learning how to do triangles is that you can combine them to make squares and larger squares, because the hypotenuses will be the sides, and that just makes a wider square than what can be made on the loom that you have. So you can make a bigger square. That's how I made the pot holder or the hot pad that is currently on, let's see, on the various pieces of social media. You'll see that hot pad that I made, because I put 4 triangles together to make a square, and the square is has a wider length and width than I would have if I would have just made the square from a single square pot holder style. I hope that made sense. If it doesn't, ask me in the comments. But anyway, you just yeah, it's a really useful thing to know how to do if you like to do the modular type making, modular weaving, or whatever. As I progress, I'm always going to back my shed stick up a little bit to make it easier for me to get the next group of threads. And I'm going to get to a point where I'm actually going to just take the shed stick out and just go over the groups. But I will have so, made so much progress that it's not going to be that big of a deal to do it all, without using the shed stick. As you can see, as I'm working up, the hypotenuse is really neat. You can see it's folded over, and everything looks really neat and straight. And that comes because I started with the shed stick over the first one. I actually did a couple of videos where I made a mistake, and I had started with it under. I hadn't woven a square in a while, and you don't get that neat edge. So you want to put that shed stick over the first one, under the second one, and go across. As you can see, when you get to the top, you're just kind of folding them over, and you kind of do need to do that. You would think it's not necessary since you're really not going over or under, but it does make a difference. So now I'm going to finish the edge, and I'm basically just going to use a crochet hook. This is a size K. I think it's like a 6.5 millimeter crochet hook, and I'm just going to crochet the edge. Now this should be familiar for you if you have worked with loopers or the little pot holder stretchy loops. You're just going to crochet the edge so that everything stays together, and you're just picking up each of them, pulling the one that's on the peg through the loop that's on your hook, and just keep going around like that. When I get to the corner, I actually will undo the knot at the corner so that I have a clean loop. And you don't have to, but I find that my corners lay a little bit flatter when I undo the knot, and so that's why I do it, especially if I know I'm going to be sewing it together. And I just keep going around, pulling them through. And the bottom edge really would stay even if you didn't do it, but I just do it for consistency. so that both of the sides are the same. And as you get toward the end, you're just going to pull it straight through, and then you're pretty much going to be done with it. Well, you're going to pull it through, and then you're going to pull the tail through, and then you're going to be done. Now, I like to leave a relatively long tail on my work because I generally will sew it together. If you're not going to sew it together, or you want to use a different thread, you can always leave a shorter tail and work in a shorter end, but that's what I do. And I also kind of stretch everything out to make sure that everything is nice and even. And that's it. And so that's what you get. You get squares, or actually you get triangles, and that's what they look like when you put them all together. And so there you have it. That's how you weave a triangle, and I hope you will go forth and make some of your own.